All right, well done, guys and gals, of course. Well, hopefully you're here for Psychology 101, right? This class? Yeah? That's one? Yeah. Head examined? Well, welcome to 303. Hopefully you're here for that, fluid mechanics. We'll allow people to roll in. Hopefully you have a copy of the one page on your right as you're just walking in. Or not. That's fine too. That's all right. We have plenty to go around. Thank you. Put the end on. Just need one. Welcome. All right. So great to have you back. I'm sure you're excited to be back after whatever you've been doing this summer. It's always good to come here early. It's actually dry if you come here early. I think it was just starting to rain when I came across. My name is Derek Ellsworth. This is EME 303, Fluid Mechanics. The reason for the introductory video was twofold, I guess. One, to make the point that yes, you can succeed and excel in this class. There's absolutely no reason you can't. And secondly, to be able to make the case that this is fluid mechanics. Many of the things that are around us, in fact, everything involved in that movie was basically fluid mechanics. Guys traveling, lift from the wingsuits, drop from the fact that gravity is pulling against them, and then drag as they're traveling, are all the mechanisms by which it controls the trajectory that they go at and the velocity in which they travel at, also for the plane. And so that is what we will be looking at in a broad sense in this class. Today I wanted just to go through kind of the ground rules for this class. You might have seen some of it already online. There's extensive materials online. For those of you who were here earlier and saw something clicking in the on the screen as it went up, these classes are recorded. It's just a straight screen capture. I'm not recording you, so don't worry. I'm recording me, not even me. This stuff ultimately gets posted. But today what I thought we would do is we'd just go through some of the preliminaries for the class and to define exactly what we'll do. So there are two websites that you might want to be aware of. Certainly you're aware of this. And if you know my name and Google me, as I will do, whoops, didn't need to do uppercase, and Google me, you'll find the other essential resource for this class, the course webpage. So Canvas, I'm sure you know how to get to. If you want to find me, no, that's not what you want. It comes, I guess it's I must have been searching for myself all the time. Don't be so narcissistic yourselves. I'm sure you're not. But if you look, just search on my name. So you'll see a number of hits. It's always interesting at the beginning of semester, you start seeing different things on the hit page. Some of the YouTube videos will come up. Some of the Rate My Professor stuff will move up the chart. But this one page here is my home page. And attached to this are the classes I teach. I teach 303. I teach, if you're in environmental systems engineering, you might see me in your final semester for contaminant hydrology class. I teach some graduate classes in numerical modeling, which you perhaps won't see me in. We have a class where we take students overseas to New Zealand, which some of you might be interested in if you want to travel for spring break and do some other interesting things. And of course, the resource page for this. How is the size of this at the back? Probably better, right? Yeah. So this and Canvas are the two sites I think that you need to know for this class. And so what I want to do today, just talk in general about the scope of the class, the syllabus, the conduct of the class, assessments, and all the things that you typically do on the first day of classes. So almost all the things that you need for this class are on this webpage, which you can find also from Canvas. It's linked through Canvas as well. And everything that you do in terms of homework submissions will be between this, but mainly on Canvas, and with some in-class exams. The syllabus is available to you. And can you see that at the back? I guess you, yes? Can you hear me at the back? I guess you can since you raised your hands. So this is what I call a blended class. So you don't need to see me all the time, and I don't probably need to see you all the time either. So it's in class for 8 weeks. It's online for 7 weeks. I think it's worked out to be a nice mixture. In fact, after today, you might not ever turn up in class again either, because that's certainly feasible to you if you so wish. Some people have a class after this and come here anyway because their bus gets them here on time, or whatever. But anyway, we will meet on the occasions that we talk about. The meeting dates are defined on this final calendar here. So today is the 20th. You are here. I am here. And so the first couple of weeks we'll meet. The week of Labor Day, we will not meet. We'll meet after that. And then all through October, we'll basically meet. So you'll see that. And these other dates that you see on your third page on your syllabus that you have, if you have X-ray vision and can actually read it, it's printed small, but just to get it on one page, are the midterm dates, which are September the 19th, October the 17th, and November the 7th, as you'll see. And the blue circles are when we'll post materials for the review materials, to give you some guidance, if you like, so you know what to perhaps focus on. And so that's kind of the conduct of the class. The class is in here. It's at 8 o'clock because it's the only room that we can get at 8 o'clock for what used to be 320 students. Last year it was 220. This year it's 190, I think. I don't know if that's a reflection on me. I don't think it is. I think it's a reflection on enrollment controls, GPA controls on some of the programs in our majors within our department. But anyway, so it's slightly oversized for this, and certainly if the past is prologue, then what will happen is that we might have, I don't know if we have 190 here today or not, we might have 160 here on Wednesday, we might have 140 on Friday, etc., and that's usually what happens. So I don't take it personally anymore, but I think that's just a matter of convenience shopping. The textbook for the class is available in the bookstore. I was there on Saturday. I can't remember the price. We have a special version for this class of the Munson, Young and Okishi book. It's in black and white. It's a paperback, and it misses out the final 2 chapters on compressible flows and turbo machinery, which we don't use. And so it's a little cheaper for that reason. And so you can pick that up at the bookstore if you so wish. And you can also get a non-expiring copy just by going to this website, right, and searching on Munson. It's the 8th edition of Munson, which was noted here. It's actually a pretty good book. My own views, I guess, on books are that it's part of your career. And so I'm always surprised by people selling them at the end of the semester. But because this course really is kind of a fundamental class and will follow you through your career. If you're a petroleum engineer, you probably need to know something about fluids flowing in porous media. Environmental systems engineers also for working the subsurface. Mining engineers for ventilation systems. Energy engineers, wind engineering. It's all the fundamental tenets, I think, of those disciplines. And so, but it's your choice as to whether you buy it. I don't know whether you can get them online, ripped versions, quote unquote, online. I have no idea. There's certainly a copy of it in the EMS library, but one copy between 190 students. I don't know whether it's in high demand or not. The bottom line is you don't need it. I think it's a useful adjunct to you. I think it's a nicely written book. The notes for the class are primarily present on this website, which are, if I go back, so you can download the course notes. These are the ones that we'll use in class. They're not the fanciest notes. You've seen the first page of them already. You've seen the stuff that we'll do today. And then it'll transition to the stuff that we do on, after these three figures, on, well, and a bit more, on Wednesday rather, the next day. And so you can get access to those if you so wish. And so I'm not sure that you absolutely need the book, but I think it's not a bad investment if you want to make it. My name you know. My contact information is here. My office is in 231 Hostler. And so the way that this course is structured is that we have me as the instructor. We have Jihao Wang, who's the TA, who's got his hand up over there. And he's kind of works to coordinate things. And if you want to make an appointment with him, you're welcome to. Savern, did Savern come? Yeah. Hey, Savern. Savern Lau is the undergraduate TA, and he'll hold office hours for 10 hours a week. So Savern is a top graduate from this class last year. He did an honors project on the class, which is posted on the course resources page as well. And so if anyone can answer your questions of the homework assignments that are needed, then he can. I'm certainly happy to chat. My door's often open. When I'm here, certainly almost always it's open. I'd much rather chat with you about your career and your life rather than talk about question 5.2.7 and why you keep on getting half what the answer should be. But be as it may, I think you should use the resources available to you to answer those. And I'd welcome if you want to come and swing by. I'm not a complete ogre, I guess. I'd be happy to chat with you. And contrary to my rate my professors profile, which actually kind of a spectrum, I'm sure, complete asshole, Jesus, somewhere in the middle. So you'll come to make your own decisions about that as time goes on, I guess. So we'll see. So yeah, obviously you've been there. There hasn't been a comment there for a couple of years. I'm not sure. Always be wary of comments that are made on the 23rd of December for a full semester class. That says something about it. So that's the book, the resources available to you. The online resources, this is the page that we've just looked at, that we've just come from. I guess we can go back to that. What else do we want to talk about? Prerequisites. As I alluded to in my introductory email to you, there's no required text. It's up to you. It is a helpful text, but it's up to you to decide whether you need it or not. The assignments are actually questions that are posted on Canvas. They are not the questions in the 8th edition. They're the 7th edition ones, the book that you won't buy, but they're made available to you online on Canvas to be able to do. The prerequisites for this are Math 250 or 251 or Physics 212. As I alluded to in my email, I do not enforce prerequisites. So in the spectrum of classes that we looked at, EME 303 all the way through to the grad class, actually all the classes are the same. I expect you to behave as adults, and as adults you're free to take whatever class you want. All the material from this class is online. You can look to see whether you think you have the skills, irrespective of your prereqs, to be able to do it. And so based on that, if you're taking it, then I assume that you're comfortable with that and come to the same standards as people who do have them. And so it's up to you, your choice to do that. It doesn't mean that I'll spend 5 hours a week sitting down with you, bringing you up to the standard that you need, because that's not the way that system works. But if you want to take it and you don't have the prereqs, then I will not disenroll you. I don't know whether someone within our department will. I would object if they did, but there's this move to kind of cut out people who don't have prerequisites. I don't happen to subscribe to that opinion, and I will not. My pledge to you is that I will not personally disenroll you. And even though that policy of removing people who don't have prerequisites has been enforced now for a few years, I'm pretty sure that no one in this class has been disenrolled as a result of that. The evaluation on this class, I look on this as again, the classes I teach. This is quite a stringent class in terms of our evaluation policy. I look on it as kind of a great gateway class. It's exciting in some respects because it's the first time as a now risen junior that you'll see things that perhaps excite you and make sense because they're almost in your discipline. And from that regard, I think it's an exciting time. But it's also a gateway class, I think, into our majors in some respects. And so from that point of view, we're quite rigorous in our assessments. My graduate class, the assessments are basically nil. You take the class, you learn the stuff, you do it because you're interested, and you get a grade, and it's because you want those tools. But this is slightly different from that. So there's a spectrum of needs, I think, in classes in undergraduate and graduate education. So the assessments here are that 15% of the grade is on weekly assignments. They'll go live Friday morning. This Friday, the first one will begin. It will be due at midnight on Thursday, immediately following it. And so you might want to do it before Thursday at 11:35 because they don't open again. And so you should keep that in mind. They repeat almost every week. There are probably about 13 of them, as it says there. We don't open them up again, except in very extenuating circumstances, not because you forgot to do it, etc. I got in at 1 o'clock and it closed. So we just don't. And so those are ultimately gone. In the ones which are in exam weeks, when the exams are on the Wednesdays, usually they're due on the Sunday instead of the Thursday to cut you a break. There is a group presentation that's part of this, and that is worth 10%. We always used to have these presentations that were due in the week before Thanksgiving, when we used to do them in person. And I guess we've graduated with this technological age for everyone wanted to record them on YouTube and do them that way. And so in deference to you, we still keep that week open. That doesn't have any classes, but that would be the presentation week. But you will do the stuff online, just because that's what we've graduated towards. And the main assessments are in terms of midterm exams and finals. A final. And so the reason for being exam heavy is that it's a course to evaluate you and your work, not your colleagues' work. And so the only way that we can insist on that, I think, is to do in-class, in-room exams, not in-class exams. And so there are 3 midterms. They're each worth 15% apiece. They take place on those Wednesday evenings that we just mentioned. They're nominally 90-minute exams from 8 till 9:30, but we keep the rooms open till midnight, should you so desire. And so they're overly long, and you have a chance to be able to show your best in those. So 3 midterms are worth 15% apiece, and then the final is scheduled during exam week and is worth 30%. Actually, the final in some respects is a little easier for a couple of, and worth more, for 2 reasons. One, because it's limited to, I think, 110 minutes, and so you don't have 4 hours so it's usually a bit more compact as a result. And secondly, it's usually prescribed, it's progressively more formulaic than the other ones, I guess. Less a cookie cutter or a recipe rather than others. I'm always bemused by the fact, and I guess I don't have really great advice to give other than the fact that you'll make your life much easier in this class if you can ace the first midterm. And so that almost has not happened for the average. The average for the first midterm, for whatever reason, is always lower, maybe by 20 points, than the ones that come after it. And that's a source of, I think, a lot of angst for people. And so I'm not sure whether that's me being an SOB in making the questions tough. I don't think it is, because you can look at the past exams and check that that's not the case. I think it's a matter of not quite understanding what the expectations are for the course. And so if you remember one thing from today, then figure out how you're going to ace the first test, and then everything is plain sailing. It really is. And so I would encourage you to figure out a way to do that. In fact, the assignment for you going away from today is to go through the past exams. So the exams since 2009 from this class are all available online, including their solutions for every single exam. And so in the lull time before things kick off at the beginning of the semester, I'd encourage you to, at least download them today and look at them. Okay. So, do I not have it? Okay. And to that end, and so these are available to you. It doesn't want to log me in as a student? What's wrong? It's thinking. Right. I don't know what that is, so. Let's see if it logs me in. Yeah. It's thinking. No, let it think. It may be because all across campus, every single class that's available is logging into Canvas, and all the students are also following. But if I do student view, and I make it large so you can actually see what's going on, and I increase the size. So in announcements, you should have seen two announcements. One was the welcome. Shed off your vacation plans, join the class, enjoy learning, which was sent out a few days ago. And I think every Saturday morning there's this weekly activities. Are we in class or not? What's due at the end of the week, etc., etc. So at least it keeps you aligned in that. In terms of assignments, do you want to grab a syllabus on your left as you come in? So the two essential things that we talked about. One is that the homework assignments, which I'm happy if you do together, but submit your own work online. Those homework assignments are available on Canvas, and will download as you wish. And look like this. And so you have access to those. And where's my browser gone? And the other thing that you might want to also download are midterm and final exam solutions. They're in a zip file. And as I say, I don't know how quickly they load. It's quite a big file. It's 100 megs or something. Looks like it's downloading quite quickly. And so you can see, well, you probably can't see, but you can now, that for each of these from 2009 onwards up to last year, there is not only the exam, but there's also the solution of that exam that's worked. The reason that there's an exam and the solution is that the exam isn't always exactly the same as the solution, because the solution's done and then the exam's modified slightly, but they're basically the same. But so if you don't get congruence between the two, that's the reason for that. So each of the exams typically are 3 questions. They're calculation questions and multi-part questions, so there's some history there, so at least you can see what's going on. The reason I mention this is because the homework assignments, I think, are almost perfunctory. I mean, I could load you up if I wanted to, or if you wanted to be loaded up with a zillion homework assignments, so you could spend all of your waking hours doing them. All the assignments in the book are kind of perfunctory, single-step assignments, and I don't think that really stretches you the way that you should be stretched to be able to make sure that you know this material. And so there's a slight difference between the style, I would say, of the homework assignments in the book and the material in the exams. But given that you now know that there's 75% of the grade that rests on the exams, it's clear that you should work towards that. I guess the one thing I'd caution you is that if you find the homework assignments incredibly easy and you can do them with your eyes closed, don't necessarily make the projection that that's the same for the homework, for the exams. And so this is all my way of saying that take this first exam seriously, engage early on, and be able to ace it, because then the course will be just such a cakewalk for you that you won't believe it. Okay. So anyway, okay, I should make this smaller now. Okay. What else are we doing? So we got the assignments. The assignments are submitted online. So you'll probably want to solve them, but then submit them online. They open on the Friday morning after the previous one's been submitted, and they're open until midnight on the Thursday. And this is where you will submit your solutions. And it will be whatever it is. You can, whatever the answers are that you get, you will use. Oops, didn't mean to do that. And you'll be able to see how you do. I have no idea. You can I guess you can go back to this movie when it gets loaded today and figure out what's going on, which are at least, maybe I got them all right. So it'll tell you which ones are correct and which ones are incorrect. Well, I got 2 of them correct. That's not bad. Well, that's pretty good. No, it's not very good at all, actually, is it? So you get 3 attempts. It takes the top score of your 3 attempts. I think for the first one, they're open now, and you get 5 attempts in case you want to try it. I think this one closes at the end of the day at midnight on Friday, just because I don't need to deal with 30 people saying, oh, I missed it on Thursday at midnight, so we'll cut you a break for that. But this is all recorded online. And so I encourage you to work together, absolutely no problem in that, but to submit your own work. So you see exactly how to do that. I'm sure you've done that before. For the classes that are online, of course, just to keep you honest and make sure that you do something, and also to be able to allow you to get extra points. Well, it's locked, it's not open yet till 3rd week. Then there are also quizzes with those as well. They're somewhat perfunctory. They're asking, actually some of them actually test you to do some calculations based on what you've seen in the movies, but they're always linked to a movie, and we'll go through that, I'm sure, as we get closer to the time. So that material is online. So that's probably the stuff on Canvas, I guess. I'm not sure if there's anything else. I think the things that we've talked about that I've narrated for you are exactly the things that are written up in these little segments below here about weekly assignments, etc. I'm not sure what else I should say about those. You should make these dates available, I think, to do the exams. We do have conflict exams. Conflict exams are never the prior exam. And so if, for instance, if you go to the course resource webpage, which is this? Oh, what a big head the size of a barn door. If you go to the course webpage, you'll see reviews for each of the midterms. Okay, this. All right, so the notes for today should be online, or looked at the behavior of a So usually fluids, there's some mu1, mu2, something. So usually there's some hints of what's going to go on. So I guess one incentive for you to make sure that you are able to try and make the exam on the evening when we get all people together to do it is that the conflict exam is just random questions in the same topical area, but with no guidance given as to what those specific questions will be. You'll see if you look at the review videos, and if you look at the corresponding midterm exams, you'll probably see some correspondence between them. Since we're making a conflict exam for those who can't make that date, then it's chosen from the topical material from those 4 weeks, but it's not necessarily maybe steered in the same way as it would be for the other one. So there's some incentive to not go and see your boyfriend or girlfriend that night, and to actually turn up and do the things in the class. So that's the one incentive which is given for that. Okay, I'll stop this. Okay, zoom out again. So I hope I'm not giving you sore necks with this zooming in and out. The other thing that's probably worthwhile noting is that although I may be an idiot, I'm not completely stupid. And that is that if you add up those numbers, I'm not being nasty, I'm just attempting to be humorous. But if you add those numbers up, you don't get 100%. You get more than 100%, right? And so the good deal, maybe, in this class is that all of the exams are graded out of 110% per question. There are 3 questions, each worth 110%, so 330. So each exam is out of 110%. So if you get 100 out of 110, then you've got full score. If you get 110 out of 110, you've got more than full score. And so if you look at the totals for this, in the midterms and the final exam, the total of those is 75% of the grade. They're 10% extra, so there's 7.5% extra that goes on the grade. And for the in-class, so the online quizzes that you'll do, the 7%. So the total score for the class is going to be 114.5% of that order. And of that, you need to be able to hit these grade boundaries. And so the good deal is that you can view that as extra credit. That's fine, view it as extra credit. But the bad news is that those grade boundaries don't change. And so if you rate my professor's easy class, it's curved, etc. It is curved in the respect that there's that extra boost on the scores, but your score as you end up the semester is what it is. And so if your score is 89.99999%, then that's a B+, and it won't change. And the rationale of that is that you're already 14.5% advanced of what you would be, and therefore, so the rationale of that is that when do you not make the boost? Is it 0.010%? Is it 0.1%? Is it 1%? Is it 10%? And to avoid that, we don't do that. Connection lost. My pad has gone off. I haven't used my pad very much today. What else do we need to do? Okay, midterms. So weekly assignments we know. Midterms we've said something about. Please do. I'll reinforce this again before we leave in 20 minutes that you should look at the midterms before you go. And the online content quizzes are fine. The other thing is that there's group presentation. So the group presentation is highlighted, I guess, on the 4th page of your sheet. And it's given here. There are some guidelines for it. Let me see if I can go back here. Group presentation examples. I guess those are there. Grab a syllabus. Oh, that's interesting. It's come up in view. So the assignment will be, once things settle down, people will swap in and swap out of this class in the first few weeks. People will arrive late from overseas, etc. But once things have settled down, we'll divide you up into groups, typically groups of 5, and we'll choose those. You don't get to choose them yourselves. And for each of those groups, we'll ask you to make a 3-minute presentation on something curious about fluid mechanics. Doesn't have to be super duper deep. It should be, I think, the best ones are the engaging ones. A simple question that can be addressed and can make you think and be able to propose some kind of solution in terms of some hypothesis-driven behavior. And so there are a couple of examples here of what that might be. And I guess there's lots of these examples. You must be able to search online for other people who've done these in the past. I guess I won't present those to you because you might use those too fully. But this is, you know, it could be something like this. So special effects physical models in heavy seas actually look like models. So why, not so much now with computer animation, but movies from the 50s, if you had a warship going through heavy water, it would be in a tank, and it'd be filmed, and you could tell that it was in a tank and filmed. And so the question is, how can you tell that? And so let's see what we got here. That's right, it is now. Let's see. Oh, it will let me do it.
Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine.
Actually, I don't need to do it in screen, right? So.
What is it, Lookout?
I never saw anything like it. An enormous wall of water coming towards us.
In the early
That
morning
look like
hours
real wall
of
of
New
water?
Year's Eve, Gene Hackman, Ernest
Can't see it.
Borgnine, Red Buttons, Carol Lindley, Roddy McDowell, Stella Stevens,
All
Shelley
right.
Winters, Jack Albertson, Pamela Sue Martin,
God.
Arthur O'Connell, Eric Shea, and Leslie Nielsen were aboard.
My whole screen's on there.
Oh my God! And capsized.
It's somewhere.
The
There it
Poseidon
is.
Adventure. What is it, Lookout?
I never saw anything like it. An enormous wall of water coming towards us.
In the early morning hours of New Year's Eve, Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, Red Buttons, Carol Lindley, Roddy McDowell, Stella Stevens, Shelley Winters, Jack Albertson, Pamela Sue Martin, Arthur O'Connell, Eric Shea, and Leslie Nielsen were aboard the SS Poseidon when it was hit by a 90-foot tidal wave. Oh my God! And capsized.
Real
The
ship?
Poseidon
Yes or
Adventure.
no?
The most exciting escape adventure of our time.
Follow me.
It took the lives of the 1,400 people on board
Don't
and
see.
changed the lives of the few who would survive.
Climbing.
All right. So, irrespective of everything else, the bottom line is when you see that boat getting hit, which is where?
The most exciting escape adventure of
I
our
guess
time.
before that, right?
Oh my God! And
So you can tell that's a model in a tank. And so the question is why? What is the mechanics by which that occurs? And so one way to be able to do that is to present some kind of hypothesis that suggests that. And that's exactly what this is suggesting here. And so I can think there may be many more, but I can think of two. And those are the 1 and 2 that are given here. Whoops, didn't need to say that. So one thing is that if you have water that forms droplets, the droplets are always the same size. Raindrops you can think of. Clearly there's a maximum size of a raindrop and it's controlled by surface tension. Once the mass of the fluid gets too large, it can't hold it within the packet. And so that's one reason that raindrops are a particular size. If you see a boat with, in the foreground of that boat, a raindrop which is 1/10 of the size of the boat, then that doesn't look real. So those are the kinds of visual clues that you might pick up that you could imagine that would make you think that it's a model rather than a real situation. The other one would be that if you take a raindrop and you drop it, it always moves at the same acceleration and therefore roughly within some bounds the same velocity. And so if you see it moving against a 10-meter tall ship hull, then it would move at some velocity, take a long time to traverse the whole thing. If you see it with the background of a very small ship, it would traverse that in a very short period of time and look like it's going much faster. And so those are two clues, visual clues that we use subliminally, I would say, could be, to be able to do it. And so you can test those things. You can test, one, can you get a very big droplet of water? And this goes through the calculation to be able to do that. And if you look at the travel time of a droplet, can you scale it relative to the different sizes of a real ship versus a model ship, and would there be a difference? And you can just show that it is. So it can be a very, very simple explanation, a very, very simple hypothesis of some fluid mechanics problem, but sometimes the most elegant expositions are a clever question that has a very simple answer that is not perhaps so obvious. And so you don't need to go super complex in being able to do these to be able to do that. There's another one. So these are, I guess it doesn't show things very well. Well, yeah, fine. And so these are things that are linked with movies, etc. This is for, it could be something, and I guess again I'm going to have to get rid of this. It's not showing, right? And so this is escape. And does this sit here? Not playing.
A demonstration, perhaps, that you've already seen is when a glass is completely filled with water. Then a cardboard is placed over the glass. It's inverted. And then the hand supporting the cardboard is removed. Atmospheric pressure causes the card to stay in place. This demonstration can actually mislead you regarding the understanding of the next demonstration. Let's add a little food coloring to this water so that it's more visible. Now let's pour that water into a mason jar with a wire screen lid in place of the normal cap. So the water enters the jar. Once again, we'll fill it to overflowing. We'll place a card on the screen and turn it upside down. But this time, instead of removing my hand, we'll remove the card. The question is, why doesn't the water come out through the screen?
It's magic.
Surface tension is the answer to that question. The surface tension of the water around the small holes in the screen. If we tip the jar just slightly, we're able to cause the water to come out through the screen.
He's a magician. All right. How do I get, where is he? So, well, you've seen these, but basically, so these two things you can download give you some impression of that. So this is just an exposition of that, looking at surface tension. So you probably don't have those tools yet, but you will do as you move through the class. I think those are primarily the deliverables that we have to think about during this class. I'm trying to think where my initial syllabus is gone. I guess it's here. Today, what we've been talking about has been recorded. I'll rip it down to an MP4 file, and it will go up as this lecture, and this will be replaced as 2017, so you get an idea of the protocols that are being used. I haven't allowed you to speak. What would you like to say? Any questions of what's going on? You're welcome to interject as we go on. I presume to call you by your first names, and I'm absolutely fine for you to call me by my first name. Sometimes students don't, or anything else that, no, you don't have to call me that. Or anything else you prefer if you wish. Yeah, I don't think anything else. So, the one message from today should be that even if the assignments seem very straightforward and easy, to make your life easy in this class, you should plan to ace the first exam. And to plan to ace the first exam, you should download the exams in the zip file. You should put them on your machine, and you should review them. You may not understand the material that's in there yet, but you should get some appreciation for exactly what's going on. You also have the review sessions to be able to marry up what is said within the review session with what goes into the exams, and to see, well, you can check whether I'm misleading you or not. I'm absolutely not. But that might give you some confidence that when it comes time for the review session for the exam, that the information you get will actually be to direct you in the right direction, not to send you off in the wrong direction. I don't know what else I should say other than that. Anything else? Anything else I've missed?